Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video I am going to demonstrate how to parse incoming emails, extract text from them and execute actions based on that text. The objective here is going to be to parse this email here. We're going to get a few bits of information out of it, the invoice ID, the invoice date and the invoice amount, and then we're going to put that into an Excel document. So let's just get started. I'll delete this trigger action and I'll do Outlook. When a new email arrives in the inbox, and then I will change the subject filter to match this email. To your Cloudflare invoice is attached. So that will just filter it so that we don't get triggered on other emails. So we will start with the HTML to text action, and we will use the body from the message. Then what I like to do always is just create a compose action, which is just a new line. I want to get rid of the empty output. So there's our new line. And then I'm going to do another compose. And I'm going to split that HTML to text into distinct lines. So we will do expression, split, HTML to text. We'll split that on new line. Then I'm going to, so this will produce an array. I'll show you in the run history. We'll do a filter array, and the array that we're going to filter is split into lines. And then I am going to, I'm going to do length, trim, item. So this is going to return us the length of each line, and I'm just going to say greater than 0. So let's give that a quick test just to see where we are. I'm going to have to select manually because this is a new flow. I'm just going to resend this message to trigger it. Okay, so the email came in, the HTML to text conversion happened, and it kind of looks reasonable. Here's our new line, so there's nothing to see there. Then we end up with this array, and then our filter array should contain only lines with anything meaningful in them. So let's take this and put it into Notepad. Now arrays in Power Automate start numbered at 0, and Notepad++ starts numbered at 1. So I'm just going to delete this first line, and then our Power Automate array will match up with the line numbering on here. So we can see that the first bit of information we want to get is this invoice ID, and that is in array element 5. So I will make a new compose action. And I'll rename this, and I'll call it invoice ID. And that is going to be an expression. And we will say split filter array, and we want the 5th element of filter array, and we are going to split it on, let's have a look, split it on a colon, and then we want the 2nd element, or rather the element numbered 1 because it starts at 0, so this will be our 0 element here, and this would be our first element. So let's Put that in there. And then the next thing we want to get is, we'll come back to the date in a minute because that's a bit more tricky. And we'll do invoice amount. That is element 7. So let's do a compose. And I'm just going to copy this. And so we'll go element 7. And we will split this one. Dollar is going to be the easiest place to split that. So we'll take that and we'll call this invoice amount. And then we've got to tackle that invoice date somehow. So let's have a look at that. So invoice date is the 6th element. So let's just start by copying this. So we're going to go to the 6th element and we will split on a space, I reckon. So if we look at this, take this out, it's going to split there, 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 and there. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to get the year first. So we'll go 4. And then let's also trim that just in case. So we'll go invoice date, put a dash, and then month will be 2. Okay, expression, and then month will be the 2nd element. Okay, that, put a dash there, and then the day is going to be 4, and it's also going to have that comma in it, so we need to deal with that. I'm sorry, it's going to be 3. So let's use an expression. We'll get the 3rd element. We also need to get rid of that comma. So we'll do replace comma with nothing. Let's okay that. Put a dash in between there. So that's not too bad. I think we've got all 3 bits of our data there. Let's give it a quick test. We can use the same trigger that we used before. Yeah, almost right. So we've got InvoiceId, which needs a trim. I thought I did that, but obviously didn't. Invoice amount is probably could do with a trim as well. And then 2021 February, but we've got a dash after the 19, which is there. So let's get rid of that. Invoice ID needed trim. Take that. And then trim that. Okay. So we've really got everything we need now to do our next action, which is updating the Excel sheet. So I will go to add a row into a table. Right, we've picked our document, and now I'm just going to put in our values. Invoice amount. Now, the date isn't going to work properly as it is. I'm just going to pick an ISO date, even though that isn't what we've got at the moment. I'm going to have to adjust that by using a format date time expression. And the invoice date is the date I want to format. We will go YYYY dash uppercase MM is for months, lowercase mm is for minutes, and then DD, and then we've got an ISO style date. So once that is done, let's move the message out of our inbox search for move. ID of the email to be moved is the ID of the incoming message. Where to move it to? Move it to there. And in theory, that should be our flow done. So let's give it a test. And we can use our existing trigger. It's going to Outlook. There's the message there. Let's test it. Okay, well, it says it ran successfully. The message has just disappeared from my inbox, so that's a good sign. Let's open up Excel. And there is our new entry coming into Excel. Here you can see that the date got converted to the ISO date as a result of that format date time. And that is really all there is to it. You can build this flow or a flow like it pretty quickly. In practice, I'm building this up to take these supplier invoices and insert them directly into QuickBooks. But if you're still here, there's a few things that I personally don't really like about this flow. If you're dealing with a lot more fields, this can start to get a bit messy having all these composers here. So as it is fine. It will work perfectly well. Nothing wrong with it. But I like to put everything into a single compose if possible. So let's make a new compose called Invoice Details. I'm just going to write a small piece of JSON in here that holds all of the details all in one action. So we'll say Invoice ID, Invoice Amount, Invoice Date, and then we'll simply go to our Invoice ID, take that expression, put it here, put it in the expression editor, and OK. Invoice amount, and then invoice date. Now here we can't copy that invoice date like it is and use it as in an expression because it's got these dashes in between. So what I'm going to just do is just do this here. We'll take this part. In fact, let's just get the whole thing. There we are. Here's our three expressions. Now I'm going to do concat, put the end of it there, comma, comma, and then we'll just put in the dashes ourselves. And then I can wrap that in a format date time. And it's going to be YYYY-MM-DD. And then we can put that inside invoice date. And missing a speech mark there. And there. That is now valid JSON. Just going to add a terminate here to make sure that all looks good. Okay, so let's now delete this, this, and this. test that. I'm just going to delete this for now. And we won't be able to test automatically because that email is now gone. So we'll say test manually. And then I'll resend the message. Okay. So here you can see we've got this nice invoice details JSON object now. And if you had many fields, this would just make things much easier and tidier. So after that, we can put, so I noticed that when I was in here, I took the output of this and I copied it, because we're going to use that now in a parse JSON step. And the content will be invoice details. Oops. And I'll generate from sample, put in the sample data that we just copied. Now we can get rid of this terminate action. And we'll say Excel. Okay, so this time we can just pick our dynamic data from our parse JSON step. We don't need to modify the date this time because it's already correct. I'm not going to put that move action on because it makes the testing more difficult. So let's give that a go. Okay, well that worked. And that's just a bit neater. If you have many fields, you could end up having a lot of compose actions, whereas with this approach, you can just have one compose instead of many. Excel has just inserted that line again. Power Automate has put that line into Excel. So that's it really. Certain emails can be more difficult to parse, and you'll have to figure out a way of doing that by either using substring functions or index ofs is quite common. But see how you get on, and if you get stuck and it's an interesting email, I'll help you out and maybe do another video on it. So give it your best shot. Good luck, and see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.